Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.
But listen, man, I want to talk about your guy. So can we hit this positive and negatives? I asked you to wear your jersey for a reason.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. The first preseason game, obviously, you're going to get a little bit of both in this. There was positives, there was negatives. Will, you can go because I will always let you talk about my Tar Heel. Go ahead and talk about it, man.
Yeah. So I didn't want to share too much earlier when I talked about, could he get the ball out quickly? But you said the word that was completely correct, poised. I was so impressed with Sam Howell out there. You said he looked poised. He looked comfortable out there. He did not look like a fifth-round pick, like a mid to late round draft pick quarterback out there. The moment was not too big for him. You saw him with the ability to stand in the pocket and scan his receivers and figure out where to go. He was able to show his athleticism. He scrambled for a first down on the first drive. On the second or third drive, he bought some time, and then threw a completed pass on fourth down. So he's looking downfield with the ball as well. I was just really impressed with him, and it's like we've been talking kind of off air and a few times on here. It's like, well, I mean, if we can win 7-8 games with Taylor Heineke, like, he can't be too bad. And it's like, I'm at the point where, like, guaranteed, like, I messed Jack because I was like, hey, the Commanders right now have a 6.5 spread or over under on wins. And I was like, pound that over. Let's go put in a bet. Like, we are not going to go 4-13 this year with this guy. A lot can still change, but Sam Howell showed me he's got what it takes to be a quality quarterback in this league. He's capable. He can do it. And then the next thing that I loved about that was one of the things I had said I wanted to watch was this is Eric Bieniemy's first chance at calling plays. This is really his offense. And when the offensive line is struggling, he didn't just keep going back to the well and call the same plays. He said, all right, I'm going to get you moving. I'm going to get you out of that pocket. And he moved Sam around to change his platform to throw from. And it didn't just let all this rush happen in his face. And I love that. I love that he said, okay, well, if my first game plan is not working, let me do what I can do, because EB's job is to make Sam Howell comfortable out there and make him look good and give him, good opportunities, easy throws, that type of stuff. And I thought the two of them looked really good together.
Yeah, and you can tell the practice was there. You can tell the terminology was there. But also, when we talked about poise, there's something about some of these quarterbacks. One of the things, Joe Montana. I am not comparing Sam to Joe Montana. What I am comparing is that poise, that calm under pressure. If you look at those first two drives, they weren't great. We started off the first drive good, but I wouldn't even say we started off good, because even the play that he scrambled on third down, it was shut down. He just used his ingenuity, got out of the pocket and scrambled and got the first down. So I love that. But at the same time, things weren't looking good. Logan Paulson said something during the game that I thought was quite interesting, and maybe this is what EB was doing. In those first couple drives, he put in a lot of different sets, a lot of different formations, and tried out a lot of different things to kind of see, okay, what's going to work, what's here, what's there. It wasn't until the third drive that you really started to see that run game pick up and then really, pay attention to running the ball, which definitely helped open things up for Sam a little bit. But you have the poise. He was 9 of 12, 77 yards and a touchdown. And I love that EB made sure that he played the whole first quarter, but made sure that he went out on a good note. Made sure that he went out after that pass to Jahan Dotson for the touchdown, which, not to bring my negatives, and this is not a negative, but you'll be surprised, I was not happy with that pass.
It was a catchable ball.
Yeah, he basically, if the corner and safety was closer, the corner would have blown him up. If you look at the play and you look at the route, there was so much separation until the pass was thrown. He had those corners juked out of their socks. And then all of a sudden having to turn around and catch it. So I was really upset with Sam on that. I'm not going to lie. But again, preseason, whatever. But
well, you're right, because with Taylor Heineke, it's as long as he makes it catchable, we expect him to catch it. So you're right. It could have been more accurate. You're absolutely right.
Well, but that's my thing. I hold him, and you know how I do, Will. I hold him to such a high standard. much higher than I've held a lot of these other quarterbacks, just because I have watched. I know what he's capable of. So when I see that type of pass, I'm like, oh, great, it was a touchdown, but he had to turn around for it. Jahan was passed. I was just, So, but I'm not taking anything away from how he started. You said he started off 4 or 5. I mean, and had it not been for that penalty, and Bates had some daggone hands, he put the ball in the right spot. Every time. Even on those plays that were on that drive where it was like second and 20, and third and 30, something like that, he still was hitting the checkdowns. He wasn't trying to get it all back at once. He's hitting those checkdowns, hitting Brian Robinson, hitting those underneath routes, and just, get the completion, move the ball, get that confidence in there. You know what I mean? Even on the sack that he took, I believe in the first drive, there's a check down. Brian Robinson was right underneath, and they had Jahan Dotson crossing. And I felt like first of all, the I think it was either center or the guard missed the block, but I felt like he looked and hesitated and then just took it and got sacked. But even that's smart. He's not showing what a rookie or young quarterback would do. Let me just make something happen. He said, let me live to see another day. And I like you, I think 2 of his best plays were the 2 incomplete passes, because one thing I circled and I harped on is decision-making.
Yeah.
That his decision-making might not be elite right now, but it is definitely a solid all-pro decision-making, because he's not having to do too much. Right. He's taking what they're giving him, and I love it. But I'm not going to be on here all day talking about my quarterback, man. So to talk about some of your other positives you had, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, something you talked about that third drive. You know who was in at center on that third drive?
Who?
Tyler Larson.
Oh,
yeah. He can't stay healthy, but I mean, the man, they were talking earlier is about, could he be a roster cut, because he really is only, or roster casualty, because he's a center. That's it. It's like, all right, the backups, do we need someone who can do a little bit more? And I also need to point out at that point, Sedarius Smith was out, and we saw the pass rush that he had, and they were not going up against all of the Browns starters. Right. Myles Garrett didn't even play.
I was about to say, he didn't even play.
So let's be honest here. But I noticed, I said, oh, the run game picked up. Who's at center? Oh, Tyler Larson's in. Okay. Well, not surprised there. But the other, let's see, the other one that I saw, well, we kind of hit some of them. We talked about EB and then Tyler Larson. So my negatives. So if you got a positive, you go with it. Then I've got some negatives.
Okay. Yeah. So one of my positives was the rushing game. Yeah. That was big. I think that is what really helped us. And we started then moving the ball. Sam Howell had that long drive. Jacoby Brissett had that long drive where he ended up running it in for a 16-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. The running game is going to be key for us. And one of the things that I thought to myself, and I wanted to talk to you about, was we've heard when Scott Turner was here and before we even got EB, this is a run team. What did it make you say? We're going to run, and then we can't do that anymore. We're going to run some more, that type of thing. And run old running back, I love that. But that's not realistic in nowadays NFL. So it looked like they were early trying to figure out this one. Let me see what this. And he was hitting the passes and everything like that, but they weren't consistently moving it till they got on the ground. Loved what B-Rob did. Just 16 yards. Did what he needed to do. Like I told you, Jacoby Brissett. But see Rodriguez out of Kentucky. Yes, against the 2s and the 3s, but still churning. That first carry comes in there and boom, lays a pop, and it's just moving his feet and getting more yards. And I remember thinking like, yeah, all right, young man, I see what you bring to the table. And I love that because he's trying to make the team. Now, who else? Frank Gore was in, not Frank Gore, but Garrett Gore, he got a catch. He didn't really do much in the running game. Patterson got 16 yards on the ground. We had over, as a whole, 27 carries, over 100 yards. I think it was 111 yards total. That's key. We need that. We need to get over 100 yards on the ground. We need to chew up that clock. We did lose the time of possession battle and the total yards battle, but I feel like that was a lot because we had that spot in the middle where we got up and then we took the foot off the gas, and then we just kind of stopped doing our offense. And obviously the backups and all that stuff were in, but that for me goes a little bit into my negatives. But the rushing was there. And the only other thing I want to say is the resiliency. I thought that was big. We started off poor, like we talked about, and then we were able to kind of come back. And then go at one point, it was he had scored like 17 unanswered points on that. So I think one of the things that's huge, and I think it goes with that whole drive that we have. It started with the defensive stand, and if you look at that drive, there was no stopping. Like they just drove right down the field.
Sure.
How many times? Right. How many times did Deshaun Watson break out? You know, shout out to Chase Young, who almost got in there, got the sack, but he did not, and they were able to move up. Brian Mitchell was saying it during the game, how these defensive ends are shooting up too much and they're leaving it open for these quarterbacks to come out, which I'm not going to get ahead of myself with my negatives. But after how it looked on that first drive, on our first couple drives, the fact that we kept going, kept playing, kept moving on, and put some things together that we can be good on. That's huge, because I don't know if the past team would have done that. I think they might have just said, call it quits, or let's go on to the next one. EB said, we're going to keep this thing going and keep it charged up, and I love that.
They did. They had a much better attitude in preseason. I mean, the fact that the defense, we talked all the time, they bend but don't break. They give you a whole bunch of yards and they clamp down inside the 20. So it was a little bit like, oh, man, I thought we were supposed to fix this here.
Right.
But I did love, and this is kind of going to go into, I do have a couple more positives, and it goes into the DBs and the fact that who made that stop on the third down on that goal line?
Forbes, baby.
Manny Forbes.
Let's go.
Physical in there, you know, and some of the other DBs played well outside of the starters. Like I said already, Jeremy Reeves was flying around. He was everywhere in the pass game, in the run game. Every time I see this guy play, I just keep asking myself, why is he not starting? Why is he not getting more playing time? Because all I do is I see him always around the ball. So I am a huge Jeremy Reeves fan. The other guy who almost maybe in this game played himself onto the roster was last year's 7th round pick, Christian Holmes.
Ooh, yes.
You know, and now he got beat a couple times, but then he recovered and punched the ball out. You know, so a little bit I was like, well, he was, the guy was open. So he got beat on the route, but he's talking about being resilient and everything. You know, he was around that and preventing the guy from catching it or moving and just getting – he was physical in there. All of them were physical. Our DBs, they swarm tackle. I love seeing there was just some swagger out there from these guys about hitting. Even Wild Goose was around making some plays. And so it was like, wow, our DBs really impressed me. I was really, watching them a lot. All I can say this, though. I knew you were going to talk about Rodriguez. We talked prior, like you're going to focus on the running backs, but go check the tape from the spring, because I said this about him in Kentucky. When South Carolina would play them, I would say it's not about Will Levis. It's not about Wan'Dale Robinson. You have to stop Rodriguez if you want to slow down Kentucky. He was a good college back. And, one of the things that as we get to talk about joint practices is, we just may not have been able to see what he can do in practice against his own teammates. But now you got a chance where he could run that guy over, Right. He can run into this guy instead of just, all right, well, you touched. Okay, so the play's dead, that you could have in practice. So, it'll be fun to watch more of him this preseason.
Yeah, I love that. He doesn't avoid contact. He go, like you said, runs right into the guy, and just moves those feet, man. Keeps digging for those yards. So I absolutely love that. One more, because I did mention it last week. The two things I was looking at was obviously the run game and our tight ends. Now, after that Bates drop early, I was ready to just be like, well, forget it. We're not throwing a tight ends this year. Right. But, hey, I shouted him out randomly, and he came through. The boy you were talking about all last year, Cole Turner, 4 catches on 4 targets, 31 yards, including the 4th down catch he had. He had a couple really nice ones. Honestly, good. A year late, but still good. Yes. Nonetheless, let's go. Keep it going. Keep it going. I need to see your blocking a little bit better. But this is the threat that we wanted and we expected from you. Yeah. 3rd down, 4th down. When we need that 1st down, we can go to you. And he came open. He played well for us. So I was excited to see him while also being very frustrated with Mr. Bates, because that pass was a dime right on. Now, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because of the holding penalty. but still, God, he threw it right into your hands. And I'm like, come on, Bates.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, but look, let's go into that because that could obviously be an easy segue to my negatives.
Go for it.
What I'm going to start with this, talking about the passing game, something we talked about last year a lot, that we had an issue with Scott Turner and his play calling, and it wasn't until Sam Heineke. It wasn't until Taylor Heineke came in the game that we started doing this, throwing the damn ball to Terry McLaurin. Now, I respect that this is, I respect that this is a preseason game, but you have him in the preseason game. You did not get a pass to him until the second play of the second quarter. You can't tell me that you couldn't run a simple slant to him and just get his feet wet. Okay, you can still take him out the game. I know this is preseason, but if that's a trend, we need to break that trend. If he's the leader, give him the rock. I don't get that. So for me, that is a little. You talked about it last year you talked about it earlier about, are we seeing certain things that we were supposed to be get fixed this all season? He's your bread and butter. Get him the daggone ball. That frustrates me. That does. He's my guy, man.
Sean, you're yelling at them for not throwing the ball to Terry in a preseason game.
Yes, I am. All right.
Now I will jump on that bandwagon if it's week 1 and they're not doing this. You crack me up.
That's right.
My negative is going to be Andrew Wiley.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious, for everyone to know. Very rough debut, and also, this is where you start getting some of it. Well, the Chiefs had 5 offensive linemen and he was the worst of the 5, and they let him go and they start having this revisionist history of like, wait a minute, we signed him on the very first day, but the first time he could ink something. What does that tell you? He took the best offer he could, knowing this was where he could get paid. So those are all just the easy, like, doomsday that people are talking about. But he didn't start off well. He did, he had multiple penalties. He had the one that caused a sack, or the safety, even though Chick Hernandez called it on Charles Leno. And then did you hear Leno's wife got blasted on Twitter because of this? So all these Commanders fans started yelling at his wife, basically just saying, like, what's going on here? It's too bad on that. So yeah, Wiley struggled, but one of the things that we got to remember is, same thing. This was the first time out there, the first time they were playing as a unit. And you mentioned it. EB was also trying different formations. It's like, I don't think we need to go run into to try and get Eric Fisher to come out of retirement or off his couch to come play for us just right now. But it's a concern, and we'll have to see. I think he'll be, good with these joint practices. And then, it's going to be one of those things I'm watching for against the Ravens is, can he have a bounce back performance?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Who wrote that? Because I had to turn off everything. As an app, yeah. Oh yeah. That's the key. I mean, that could be our Achilles heel this year. So it's gonna be, can we improve that?
Oh yeah. And another one of our Achilles heels might be our defensive line against mobile quarterbacks.
Always.
We seem to have an issue with them. Deshaun Watson had, 8 carries for 30 some odd yards. A couple times we had him in the grass, but he's a bigger, stronger quarterback, and he was able to get away. And that's one thing. But then you get Kellen Mond coming here, and he's running on us, and it's like, wait, what? Come on! But it goes back to that attention to detail, and we talked about some of the things that Chase had an issue with being when he was kind of uncoachable, which he's running up the field and trying to do, one-on-one stuff and not thinking about the whole scheme of the defense. So you're giving that quarterback an opportunity to step up in the pocket or even giving him a lane to get, down the field. So that's killer, especially going into this week. Obviously, we're not going to see, the million-dollar man, the multi-million-dollar man, Lamar Jackson, as much. But Huntley, he's a scrambling quarterback. That can run around, and you know what I mean? So, and that offense is kind of more towards the scrambling quarterback. So that's something that, especially going down the line, when you have a Daniel Jones, when you have Dak Prescott who can move, he's mobile out of the pocket, and then obviously Jalen Hurts, you need to be focused on stopping these mobile quarterbacks, and at the very least, just get them down, just bring them down. You know what I mean? So,
we're the only ones who make Deshaun Watson look like an all-pro since he's come back.
Yeah. Yep.
Two games in a row now. It's like, God, can we get this
Come
guy?
on, man.
I know. I'm with you. We'll kind of go in there where you talked about how Chase is the only one who got his hands on him. Is my negative is the injuries that happened in the game. You know, Chase Young getting the stinger, and I mean, it happened in the first drive. Like he played 3-4 snaps, and that was it, and he was out. You know, so that obviously is a concern, as this is a big season for him. But the bigger one is for Darian Mathis, Big Phil. You know, because we got to see what he's got. You know, we're anticipating him being on the on the depth chart, a rotational piece. You know, we've got with him and with Ridgeway, we've got, you know, some guys who can come in and play, but we got to see it. And plus he's coming off a knee injury last year. So you never know if, you know, that first year he can actually, you know, fire off and be a good player. And now he's just got a calf injury. So it's like, if you're already recovering a knee injury, now you just have a calf injury. Is he going to be able to live up and be healthy for us this year and be productive for us? You know, I guess if I got a positive, my boy Benning Potatoes now going to step up. And I mean, they've already been talking in training camp how this guy's good. He's you know, he's real tough. So I'm going to be watching for him here. But like Big Phil we need him to get healthy to get back, because otherwise might need to be moving on. I'm not talking cutting, but if you're hurt, you got to go on IR so we can use that roster spot for somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we talk about this ad nauseum. The best ability is availability, and unfortunately, you know, you got hurt. You were out all last year. But I too, once he was kind of gimpy, you know, walking off the field, I too was kind of like, this ain't good for you. Yeah. You know, like, come on, man.
Well, you know what it caused me to do is I went in to look at the NFL draft here as we're having struggles on the offensive line, and we passed on Cody Mock, and then Phil Mathis goes out injured, and I looked back at the draft going 2 years ago, and, all right, so who could we have picked instead of this guy who's now injured again?
Golly. Yeah, man. So that we definitely have to pay attention to that. My last one, I had a couple, but we talked about it. I had the slow start, you know, and you know, gave up a lot of yards in that first opening drive to Deshaun Watson and that whole team. So obviously those are big, but I already kind of discussed those. My thing, who did I talk about? Who have I been talking about? My guy, De'Ami Brown. You know, he had one catch. He only got targeted twice.
Oh, that's
but
a
still,
negative?
Huh?
This is a negative?
Yes.
I was going to give him a positive, and then we had too many.
No. If I am De'Ami Brown right now, again, I hold him at a higher standard. Tar Heel guy, I've watched him. I know how threatening he can be. B-Bitch even said it. This guy's got speed. This guy can go on that. You know, he definitely can take the top off the defense. But if I'm him, I'm in front of the coach and annoying coach. I'll block. Coach, let me run. Let me do something. Get in his face. One of the things that our coach used to tell us is, if I don't know your name, then how are you going to expect to get in there? You know what I mean? De'Ami's got the ability to do it, but it doesn't matter. At practice, if you do it at training camp in front of the fans, that's cute, that's great. But you need to do it when there's tape where you can put it on tape, so that even if it doesn't work out here, you can go somewhere else, man. But one catch on 2 targets, and maybe he wasn't in the scheme, but still, I'm like, Coach, can I get in? Can I do something? And my college quarterback is a starter. I'm going to Sam, man, talk to him for me, man. Get me in this thing.
Right.
De'Ami, man, I need more than one catch. Albeit it was a great catch, and actually, and this is also another negative, if they reviewed that catch, it might not have been a catch.
Uh-oh.
If you look, that second foot was close. I don't know if it came down, but they ran it out. They just kept playing it afterwards. So, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Tommy Meyer.
Yep, Tommy Meyer said, if I have to search for you, then you ain't getting in. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was my – and again, I know I'm being harsh on him, but this is what? Year 3. Yeah. We've had such good expectations. Now you actually get one of the most rarest things involved with your college quarterback, who got you, you know, that attention, got you 1,000 yards and all that stuff. You're with him now. Like, we need more. We need more. That's all.
I'm with you.
Yeah, buddy. You have any more?
I don't.
There we go.
Let's get into this one. I love this question by Ben.
Oh yeah. You want to hit this real quick on the other side so we can bring Nate in for it?
Yeah, definitely. Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.